All right, so we're in LA, Cash.
So we're in LA.
And then we're heading back to New York.
Heading back to New York.
So what happens after the acting career does not pan out the way you thought it would?
The acting career fizzles out.
Yeah.
And I go into...
That's weird because most people that move out to LA are just successful actors. It's weird that it didn't pan out for you.
Yeah.
You're the 1%.
I'm the one person who didn't make it.
Yeah. So we head back to New York, and then where do we go from there?
So we head back to New York, and we dive headfirst into the bar business.
Yep.
Which is a wild fucking ride. I spent 4 years on the Upper West Side at a place called the Zoo Bar. I then took the concept, opened up my own place in my hometown called the Zoo Bar. And that's where things start to get a little bit blurry, maybe, right?
Sure.
Because of the alcohol.
Yeah, it's a different way of life when you own a bar, I would imagine. Because even when I was going to the bar every day, that whole side of my life is blurry.
Yeah.
And if I owned a bar,
Yeah.
it would be even worse.
I think the real tragedy is that we had made so much fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
We were raking this cash into a garbage bag and didn't save a penny of it.
Sure.
Like nothing. We just blew it all.
How old are you now? In your 20s?
I'm in my 20s.
Yeah.
I'm in my 20s. And
those are lessons learned, right?
Yep.
I think we all do that when we first start making money. The first time I started making money was in my late 20s. Mm-hmm. And same thing. Every dollar I made, I spent.
Yep. I was like 26 maybe?
Yep.
25, 26, something like that.
Glad it happened then, though. For me, like the money thing and all the bullshit and my trial and all the trouble. Like, I'm glad that all happened in my 20s. Because if it happened in my 40s, I'd fucking kill myself.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad it happened back then.
It's hard enough to climb out of that hole in your 20s, right?
Sure.
And then wound up losing a lease on that bar. And that's the first time I went broke.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I had done everything from fucking drive limos to fucking put in paver walkways, whatever the fuck I could do to make some money is what I did. It was in the bar, though, that I had gotten started in real estate. So always had a passion for it. We're right before the bar. Just that's where I kind of spawned.
So tell me about you did have a catering business. Was that the bar era or was that after?
I had a restaurant after the bar.
Right.
I had a barbecue restaurant after a bar that was a huge success until it wasn't.
Yeah.
Again. And started vending barbecue on the streets of New York.
Right.
And I just found myself in the city, like slinging brisket sandwiches and pulled pork sandwiches, and all of a sudden went from not having money to having some money again. And then I was down on 23rd Street one day, and I had my head in the pit, and I hear this fucking voice in my ear, and he goes, "Is that brisket?" And I turn around, and here's Harrison Ford with his head in my pit. And I turn around, and without missing a beat, I happen to have a 6-pack of like Corona under my like tent. And I turn around without missing a beat, and I go, not only is that brisket, but that's probably the best brisket you're ever going to have in your life. I've got a beer in my tent. If you want, I'll make you a sandwich. I'll meet you in the tent. He goes, okay. And I was like, oh shit. So here I am in the tent with Harrison Ford. And from there, all of a sudden these celebrities would come by and eat my stuff. Brian Gumbel would come by. Stephen Baldwin would come by. Leif Schreiber would come by. Colin Quinn. All these people. And they're like, Harrison sent me. And I was like, oh, shit. And then one day I was in Queens. The thing about barbecue is that you smell. So here's how people eat. You eat with your nose first. Then you eat with your eyes. And then you eat with your mouth. Right? So people would smell the hickory wood, permeating the streets of New York. And this woman walks by and she picks up my card and she goes, hey, do you cater? And I go, of course I cater.
Did you cater?
No. No. And
let's pause for a second.
Yeah.
Like, that is such an entrepreneur mindset, right?
Yeah.
Because if you go, like, I'll go to a restaurant, you know, this happened to me in San Diego a couple months ago. My friend Rachel out there is on a carnivore diet.
Okay.
Right? We go to this restaurant and I'm like, hey, I just need a plate of carnitas, nothing else. Charge me whatever you want for it. We don't do plates of carnitas. I'm like, yeah, I realize it's not on the menu, but you have carnitas here, right? Yeah. Can you just give me a plate of it? Charge me literally whatever you want. I don't care. I can't ring it up. I don't know how to do that. I'm like, well, just ring me up 2 whatever burritos and just give me carnitas. And she just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it's like the same thing would happen at the bike shop where people would come in with these weird things. Even a lady one time came in, she goes, my car won't start. I go, I can fix it. And I just went out there, I replaced her starter for her and charged her for it.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever's going to make a buck,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
Even if it's not, you know, on my job description.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting you say that. Of course, it's an opportunity. You don't cater, but I do cater, and I'll figure it out as I go.
I do now. How many people do you need me to cook for?
Right. Yeah.
And she said 700.
Holy shit.
And I said, yeah, no worries. I'll get that done.
I'll get the staff going. I'll call my assistant. We'll get it going.
Sure enough, I put it together, went down to the Belova building down in Queens, and there I was with 700 people and pulled it off. Got the contract, and then just kind of morphed from there. And then, you know, that wasn't for me. It was just a means to just make some money. And,
That's great.
Yeah, that's how it.
That's great. So we're into like late 90s.
So we're late 90s. We are early 2000s.
And that's really when you got started.
Early 2000s, man. It was 2006, 5.
2005 was the last year of my crazy partying. That's when me and Eric lived together. Height of crack addiction for Eric, height of every addiction from me. And that's when I got arrested, was fall of 2005. And we used to joke about 2005 all the time, me and Eric. Like, that was our best year ever. It was the last hurrah. I'll tell a quick story. Like, people are always like, well, I mean, yeah, you guys were just partying. It's like, no, we were absolutely out of our minds, crazy. No governor at all. Nobody could handle us. We lost most of our friends, got kicked out of every bar in town, wasn't invited anywhere. Every time we'd walk into places towards the end, they would just turn us around. You guys are not welcome here. Like, we would get in fights, we would break stuff. It was just complete debauchery. And now looking back, it's like, that was the worst year of our lives. But it seemed fun at the time.
Yeah.
You know, but it got out of control. 2005 was a weird year for me. It was the turning point. I went to jail, and then it was 2007 when I got out. And it's funny, we were talking about reminiscing about old times, you know. I just turned 40, you just turned 50. And it's funny because when people ask me about life before 25, like, I was 25 when I moved to San Diego, and that was 2008. Like, I don't ever think about life before that unless somebody asks me, right?
Yep.
Because it just was just a different, that doesn't seem like me. Like, I feel like it was a different person because my values were different, my morals were different, my friends were different, my environment was different, my mindset was different. And somebody asked me on Instagram the other day, like, what would you change from your past? What would you tell your younger self, was the DM. And I said that you ain't shit. The world's a lot bigger than your fucking neighborhood.
Yeah.
And fucking, I forget what else I said.
Yeah.
And be fucking humble, because I had none of those traits back then, and it feels like a completely different person.
Yeah.
So it's like life really started for me at 25. But anyway, 05, this is when you shift over to.
So I'm in real estate. I've got like one toe in, one toe out, and I'm looking for a little education. And I come across a woman out of Sacramento who owns the domain name foreclosures.com. So I am on the balls of my ass. I mean, I can't rub two nickels together. And I turned to Stacy and I go, I'm going to go out to Sacramento and study with this woman. She's like, how are you going to pay for it? I was like, I have no idea. But
and Stacy's been with you through this whole ups and downs, everything.
Fucking saint, man, a saint. You know, we often talk about like the ride and how we got here. And, you know, she'll sometimes look at some of her friends and say, oh, you know, it was nice and comfortable the whole way up. And I will always answer with, they just haven't lived as much as you have. And we've lived, you know. And she is, without Stacy, truthfully, because I lean on her a lot, and I don't always give her the credit that she deserves. So I'll give her the credit here and say that she, without her, I would be a dead man, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we need that one person in our lives when we're maniacs, right?
And it's funny because I saw like a post that Eric had about, you know, behind every good man is a good woman, and it's not behind every good man is a good woman, it's beside every good man is a good woman. And she's absolutely awesome. But I was like, I'm going out here to learn from this woman, and I get out there and it's all about subject to. But I don't know the difference between a judicial state, a non-judicial state, what a deed is, what a no. I have no fucking clue what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I'm a student, man, and I sat back and I took all these notes and I was taking all the shit. And I remember coming back, I was so excited. And she's like, are you going to start putting deals together? And I go, yeah. And I locked myself in a room. And at the time, this is a true story, at the time, she was selling lists. But I couldn't understand how she was getting all the information because the internet hadn't hit.
Yeah.
The connections hadn't hit. So I'm like, she's got to be importing this stuff from the county recorder's office.
Yeah.
And I went to a friend of mine's restaurant and I met with a web designer. And I go, I want to do that. Can you make me that? And she's like, that website is huge. We can't build it. And I never followed through with it. I just let it go because she told me no, that she couldn't do it. And I didn't reach out to anybody else. And, you know, you look at somebody like, you know, Propstream, you know, companies like Propstream now that obviously are able to import a lot of the data. But I was such a student in there that when I came out about 3 weeks later, she said, there's a guy who wants to do an interview on me, and I recommended you for the interview. And I said, well, perfect. So this guy, Robert Haggerty, comes on out, flies into New York. And at the time, I'm actually working a deal. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I was dead fucking broke. So I'll tell everybody out there in podcast land, do not believe everything you read, because this entire article was probably 95% just full of shit. I was totally full of shit.
Yeah.
And I called my buddy who owned the restaurant and I go, I need your Porsche. And he's like, why? And I said, well, I got this interviewer that's flying in and I don't want to look like I'm broke. So can I borrow your Porsche? And he's like, yeah. So I take this Porsche, pick this guy up, and I'm in the middle of a deal. And I'm trying to get through the day. Like, I'm just trying to keep this guy entertained enough. And I'm praying to God that my phone rings with somebody who I'm working with so that I can prove to the world that I'm actually doing a deal.
Yeah.
And we're sitting down at lunch and the fucking phone rang from a guy that I was doing a deal with. And I pick it up like I've been doing this for a million years. Yeah, Uso, no problem. You know what? Your timing is perfect. I'm on my way right now. Blah, blah, blah. And I hang up the phone. I go, we got to go. And he was so like, oh my God, like we're in this deal. And we meet with this guy. And ultimately, I'm not able to put a deal together. And I go, I didn't even think to ask you, like, who are you with? He goes, I'm with the Wall Street Journal. And I go, no shit. And he goes, yeah. And I go, cool. I go, when's the article going to come out? And he goes, I don't know if I'm going to put the article in or not. And I go, all right. And 3 weeks later, I'm in a gas station and I'm on the front fucking page of the Wall Street Journal.
No shit.
For foreclosure investing. And my mother's like, did you see the paper? And I go, I don't know how I wound up on the most nationally recognized newspaper for business in the entire world. And here's me. They would take your picture and it looked like a thumbprint, you know, like a print because it was all black and white.
Right.
And
well, it's all taking risk and taking chances. Like, yeah, we never know, like, because we're in the shit. And we're doing all this stuff and we're hustling and we're saying yes to opportunities and we're taking opportunities. And then it's like all of a sudden something happens like that. You're on the front page of the Wall Street Journal and you're like, how the fuck
did I get here?
It's all that fucking hard work and not sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
You know, I always go back to like luck, you know, like people tell me, especially people from back home, they're always like, oh, you're so lucky. It's like, lucky? Are you out of your fucking mind? You know how much fucking work and sacrifice it takes to get here?
Yeah.
Like luck it exists. It ain't gonna fucking happen when you're sitting on the couch smoking weed and fucking playing video games. I'll tell you that. You know, so it's that old cliche. You create your own luck, but it's fucking luck is just fucking hard work and risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, my phone starts blowing up with people who want to throw money my way to invest. And luckily, I was smart enough to not take anybody's money because I knew I wasn't really responsible with it.
Right.
But the woman who was teaching me recommended some prospects who were on the fence about taking her course. And I said, well, you can take her course or you can take mine.
Yeah.
And here I was trying to teach subject to in a real estate office, made it through it. I only taught 4 people that year, and that was the last time I had taught, anybody for a while. Made it through, just made some money, and then really started to dive a little bit, even more deep into real estate and more deep into.
So were you like buying and selling real estate? I know Stacy's a broker or an agent.
Yeah, she's a real estate broker in New York, in North Carolina. I was a broker in New York. And then I gave up my license. But yeah, the first deal I ever did, I did with my brother. I bought a house on a block that I lived on. We renovated it. And we made like 21 grand or 22 grand, something like that, like 11,000 a piece. And then my brother wound up doing a deal with my cousin kind of behind my back, and it didn't sit well with me. So we had a little, like a little thing there. And then ultimately you get older, you get more emotional intelligence and all of that stuff kind of subsides. But yeah, I've done pretty much everything. I've built from the ground up. I've done land deals. I've done single family. I've done multifamily.
And you were doing all this from early 2000s until
today.
Still doing it.
Still today, yeah.
Yep. And then when did the teaching aspect really hit? Because most people know Cash Money Mike is like the guy for seller and creative finance, right? Like you teach it so well. You got a shit ton of students and a huge community. Yeah. I mean, you're the go-to guy for that. You're on stages, and it's funny because everybody's like, when me and Eric, started going to these events, it's like, oh, you guys came out of nowhere. And people say the same thing about you. And it's like, well, no, you've been doing this shit for 20 fucking years.
Yeah. You just found me.
Yeah. It's like a stand-up comedian that gets a Netflix special. It's like, oh, this guy came out of nowhere. It's like, you didn't see the fucking 13 years of him working for $20 a night at some shithole fucking comedy club in Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He overnight success or overnight notoriety. Nobody sees the back end of all that and all the hard work because we don't fucking film it and we don't put it out there. It's all this hustling we do to get to this point.
Yeah.
It's like, it would be so interesting somebody to start their journey and literally film the whole thing up until they fucking finally make it because nobody sees all that grind and all that grit. But, I think that would be valuable, but maybe it is the flashy fucking I've made it that people enjoy. Who knows? But
I think in our era, we would have had to kind of grow up in Hollywood to make that happen, right? We didn't have the technology.
Yeah, thank God we didn't.
Thank God we didn't.
Thank God we didn't have Instagram when I was fucking 20 years old. It's been a nightmare.
But the real start for the education was once I was in this note investing seminar. I think I mention this in your community, that there were like 40 people in this seminar, and there were two guys up at the front. And they were talking about note structure, and nobody was asking questions. And then finally I raised my hand and I'm like, hey, I got a question for you. And everybody else turned around and looked right at me as if to say, like, what could this guy possibly ask? It sounded like Japanese to a lot of people,
Sure.
you know? And I go, are you creating these notes just to sell them? And now everybody's like looking back and forth, waiting for the answer. And this one guy turns to his partner. He goes, we got one. As if to say, we've got one who's asking the right questions.
Yeah.
And it was, honestly, Tony, at that exact moment, I immediately knew something that not a lot of people knew. I knew at that point because I was watching where the money went. And more importantly, I was able to tie it into my I never thought of myself as having a sales process, right? Because I would just negotiate, either on the phone or belly to belly. I would actively listen, what people struggle with actively listening. I don't struggle with, I listen. So I think it was just through my experience that once that hit and I can tie it into my conversation, I knew I was going to be able to pitch it differently.
Right.
And the minute I knew I was going to be able to pitch it differently was the minute people were like, I want that. I want some of that. So we just started in like small little meetup groups and little Facebook groups and little local groups. A lot of real estate brokers at the time, but I was always fighting this uphill battle trying to get a real estate broker to understand creative real estate.
Yeah, they're just so fucking one track minded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for them to get to understand anything other than listing and selling properties,
And then from there I was just buying a bunch of stuff, and then ultimately I got to be honest with you. I don't give. I mean, I give somebody like Eric a lot of credit for me, because there are people that come into your life that absolutely change your life.
Yep.
Without you knowing your life is about to be changed.
Yep.
And just finding him online, and he knows this about me, is that he has dramatically changed my life. Mm-hmm. Where it's natural for me, but without Eric Klein, I would not be out on Instagram.
Oh, I mean,
you wouldn't know a thing about me.
You're looking in the mirror right now. I wouldn't either. Like, I didn't even my Instagram before I got out here in North Carolina and started working with Eric was nothing. Like, I would post a picture of my dog every 3 months or some shit. So, same here. Like, I just didn't even fucking think about it until he started doing it. And then it was like, and he was very encouraging of me of like, dude, and so have you been, to be honest. You've mentioned it twice now of like this gift that we have. And that's something you told me, I don't know, a year and some change ago when we were out to lunch, and you were just like, Tone, you have a gift. Like, you need to fucking teach, and you have this brain and this way of communicating where people need to fucking hear you. Yeah. And like, between you and Eric, that's really what got me to, really dive into, and Gio, who does such a great job of handling my social media and keeps me on track with it. It takes a fucking village to keep me on there and keep me going on there, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of responsibility. And I remember in the beginning, the first Zoom I ever did to train, I maybe had 1,000 followers or some shit, and I was like at a mastermind in San Diego, and all these guys, I spoke for Eric was speaking in front of this mastermind, and he kept mentioning me, and people would ask questions about dispo, and he kept, handing me the mic, and I would talk about it. And we were only in the business for, 9 months at the time or some shit. And everybody in this mastermind came up to me afterwards, and they were like, dude, hop on a call with me. I need to learn your dispo process. Hop on a call. And finally I was like, kept saying yes. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll just do a Zoom for everybody to join, you know? And I had like 1,000 followers. I think Eric had like 10,000 followers back then. He had already had 10,000 followers from, you know, his previous business. So we both put out like, hey, here's this dispo Zoom for whatever it was. I think it was $300 or something. And like 98 people showed up on it. And I remember being so nervous about teaching because I'm like, I always felt like a fraud. You know, it's like, fuck, do I even know what the fuck I'm talking about? I had like no confidence at all because I'm not used to teaching like that. And then once that Zoom hit, and I would get so nervous during the Q&A because I'd be like, shit, am I going to know these answers? I've only been doing this shit for 9 months. And after that first one, it went like 3 or 4 hours. It gave me all the confidence in the world. And then, you know, meeting you and you telling me like, oh, dude, you have a gift. You need to fucking keep doing this. You know, it all kept me motivated to keep doing it. And now with the Q&A section of my Zooms and my teach, I fucking salivate for those because I'm like, I hope they throw something at me I got to figure out. Like, because I'm a problem solver and that's what gets me going. You know, so and that's how I continue to learn because I'm always like, when there's a problem in the office, like I want to know exactly how to fix this shit. I'm going to figure it out. It might take me a little longer sometimes than not, but like keeping that quick wit and keeping that fucking mind open for education and learning every single aspect. So when anybody has a fucking issue that's in your community or you're doing a Zoom or whatever for, you have a real answer for it, you know? And that's just so important. So, to go off of what you said about Eric, like I think both of us are probably sitting here on this podcast today because Eric gave us a kick in the ass and said, you guys need to fucking do this.
Yeah, there was a huge opportunity for Eric that I knew I was going to watch. And I was like, no, I'm jumping in the game here. And all thanks and all credit to, Eric Klein for really just, I like literally changed my life because with only 200 followers on Instagram, I had sold so much of my training that people could not believe how much money I had sold in training with just 200 followers. And everybody believed that you needed a bunch of followers to make money. So at some point, I'm going to tell the story on how much money I actually made with 200 followers and how you don't need that. What you really need to do is you need to be able to recognize opportunity.
Right.
And then when you see the opportunity, you've got to at least have some type of value or you're a fucking coattail rider.
Right.
And I don't ride coattails. I don't, I'm not posting up Eric every day and going, me and my buddy Eric Klein, me and my buddy TONYMONT, like we're working together, right? Where a lot of people who don't have the experience and can't recognize the opportunity jump on coattails, and I can name names all fucking day inside this industry.
Sure.
Where I've, I mentioned early on in the podcast that I had pulled back from a lot of those circles because I only fuck with people who are real.
Right.
And there's only 3 people that are here that I consider to be real, and you and Eric sit at the top of the heap of that for me.
Yeah.
And that's all I fucking need. I don't need anybody else to tell me, oh, you should go follow it. You should do that. You should do this. I don't want to follow anybody else.
Right.
Talk to anybody else. I don't want to make any more friends.
Yeah.
I want the guys who are doing what they are supposed to be doing at a high level because I do what I'm supposed to be doing at a high level. Yeah. And those are the circles I like to run in.
Yeah, and that should be the intent with anybody growing a brand. It's like, it's a weird aspect of life where we see, somebody doing something on social media and we're like, oh, maybe I can mirror that. Or we see somebody with their sales pitch and we're like, maybe I can mirror that. It's like you could take inspiration from those things, but you got to find your own fucking lane.
Yeah.
If I tried to make my Instagram the same as anybody else's, it would fucking fail miserably because I wouldn't be genuine to myself. And it's funny, we talk about the calls that I post on Instagram. Most of the comments are like, I can't believe how you keep such a calm demeanor, especially the ones where the seller's freaking out and I'm just calm and fucking, helping them through the process and all that. But there is some people that are like, oh, you're so you're so boring on the phones. How do you get any sales? And it's like, this is me. Like, I'm obviously successful. Like, I'm not trying. If I tried to be anybody else on the phones, I wouldn't get any fucking deals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't get $52,000 reductions on houses and shit like that to make a deal work. So you do got to find your own rhythm on social media, and that'll shine through to the audience, because they're going to say, this is a unique individual and they're doing something different. And I want to take a little piece of that. I need to pay this person to grab that knowledge from them and the experience from them. And I need to find my own fucking lane with it. Like, you don't have to be Eric Klein to be great at sales. You don't have to be Tony Mont to be great at negotiating and dispositions. You don't have to be Cash Money Mike to be great at creative finance. You can be whoever you want to be, but take the nuggets from everybody and find your own lane.
Yeah. Amen.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's ask this now. You obviously got a great community. You're teaching seller finance, creative finance. You do a great job of it. The man in the industry to go to for it. You've had this crazy life, all these experiences, ups and downs. I feel like you have had a nice run of success that's continuing to go up, right? And you're in this, you know, I don't know if you feel comfortable or not, but like at this moment in your life, you just turned 50, you have a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, your daughter's a D1 softball athlete.
Yeah, she plays Division I softball, yep.
So you have this great family, this great life, and like where's your vision going forward is the first question, and then I'll follow up with another question after that.
I'm definitely more aware of the time. You know, I think that happens with loss, right? This life is all about struggle and how hard you can fight out of that struggle. So I'm definitely looking at time a lot differently as I get a little bit older. The vision for me is to continue to provide for my family and my friends. I don't have these big, grandioso goals to build big companies. I've got an insatiable appetite for real estate. So I think I'll be doing this until I'm looking at the roof of the church. But yeah, I think the goal is to do just bigger and bigger projects and learn a little bit more. I've got a big commercial development that I'm going to start on, which is going to be a huge undertaking for me.
Right.
Because I had only done like residential builds from the ground up. But I've got a nice 10-acre piece of property that think I'm going to finally pull the trigger on and get built, which should be a lot of fun, right?
Yeah,
a lot of
learning, a lot of
learning, a lot of fun. Some amazing, absolutely amazing content that's going to come out of that build.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some ridiculous ideas. I wanted to think about something like we were talking about the experience, like, you know, working in a pizza place or working in theater or working in a bar. And, you know, it is all these experiences that ultimately bring you to where you are, but it's more about me understanding perception too. Like I can create anybody with ill intent. So anybody can really create perception, right? But if you've got some ill intent or you're not really real, right? A lot of people look at you as a little sideways. I've got my finger on the pulse of what, and I've given you an idea last time, right? Yep. I've got my finger on the pulse of what it should look like. And I think there's an opportunity there. I think there's a massive opportunity coming down the pipeline for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I'm fucking stoked.
Well, and just watching your content and your social media grow as it has been insane for me. You know, it's been great. You find these, I mean, you're such a student of everything. And it's like you know, every time we sit together and chat, it's always something that you are learning and you're fucking mastering. So you do a great job of it.
Thank you.
We talk about, you know, as we get older and loss and stuff. I know you just lost your dad.
Yeah.
And I lost my dad almost exactly 8 years ago. It was just the other day. My phone reminded me, just looking at the date, I was like, oh shit. You know, it's one of those things as you get older and you lose. I mean, I lost my dad at 33, I think, or 32 it must have been. But like that definitely changes you. And it gets like for me, when my dad died, he died suddenly of a heart attack. He was 62 years old. It was almost like this, like I'm next kind of feeling. Like
That's funny. I feel the exact, I said this to my wife. I go, I don't feel too far behind my father.
Yeah. Cause I remember my dad when he was 30, I mean, it's like, it's like they're not much older than us.
Yeah, no.
20 something years older than us.
Yeah.
So in 20 years, as we know, goes by really fast, but it feels like very vulnerable when you lose a parent because it's just this conveyor belt of life.
That's so weird you felt like that. I felt the exact same way. I feel like I'm closer. So in a way it helped with the grieving process because he didn't feel far away from me.
Mm.
And even like sitting here right now, I don't feel that far behind him.
Right.
Like, I feel like, I believe in God and I pray every single day or a higher being, whatever it is. And I feel like, if there is a place, which, right, that's the mystery of life, right? Nobody's come back to tell you where you're going to go.
Right. Right. Hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet.
Houdini tried it and it didn't work out. Yeah.
So that if there is a place that, you hold some faith that, you're going to meet up with your loved ones and everything else. My mother's sister is going through something now where, she's on limited time. We're all on limited time, right? But you get to the end of, whatever you're going through and it, tends to speed things up. But yeah, it definitely shifts the earth off its axis just a little bit. And you either adapt or you fall into a hole and you start to grieve because
self-destruct.
It doesn't really feel right. It almost feels like you're floating when you're going through it.
Yeah, it really does. It doesn't feel real.
No, it doesn't feel real.
Yeah, I've had a lot of loss in my life. My best friend died at 17 in my arms, bled to death, cut his jugular. And that was like the first real big loss. And then
on his own? Intentionally?
No, it was an accident that I was with him during. And that's what literally just put me in a spiral of addiction and all that. And then my grandparents who, might as well been my parents, like close to them as anybody, my nana, my nanu, they both died when I was like 21, within a few months of each other, which happens a lot, with people that were married 60 years or whatever.
Yep.
So then they died, then, went to jail and all that happened right after that, like just spinning out of control. And then, my dad died. And like when my dad died, instead of self-medicating and spinning out of control, like I was in the past with losing people, I didn't go that route, but I did feel all this motivation drain out of me when my dad was gone. We talked about this the other night where my business partner, Scott, at the time, it was like a month or so after my dad died. He's like, dude, what? You got to get out of this hole. And I was like, I don't give a fuck if I lose everything and live on the streets. Like, I feel like every single thing I did in life was to make my old man proud or prove to him, like, I'm not this 22-year-old kid sitting in jail.
Yeah.
Like, I'm successful now.
Yeah.
And the only thing that fucking saved me from spinning out of control when my dad died was I was able to buy him a new truck like 4 or 5 months before he died. And it was a surprise. I bought this truck, shipped it to him, and it was a surprise. This guy was delivering the truck one night. He got to my dad's late at like 10 o'clock one night, and he pulls up and he calls me and he's like, hey, I'm at this address you told me, the lights are off. What do you think? And I said, well, I'm going to give you some advice. I go knock on the door and then take a couple step backs and have your hands where he can see him because he's probably going to come out with a gun. 10 o'clock at night on a fucking Wednesday in a quiet neighborhood. My dad always kept the gun in the living room. And the guy knocked on the door. Then like 10 minutes later, my dad calls me. He's like, what the fuck are you doing buying me? I should be buying you a truck. I'm like, I got a new truck. You needed one, so... And then for the last 4 months of his life, he wasn't sick or anything. He died suddenly. But the last 4 months of his life, like, that's all he fucking taught. He called me every day. Yeah. I got some new fucking mud flaps. I got some new fucking this or that. Yeah. Sprayed the bed liner in. Like, he was so proud of this goddamn thing, So that saved me, was being able that was kind of one of those things where it's like, I'm fine. I got a new truck. I got a business making a bunch of money. You deserve this for all the hard work you did in my life, and all the sacrifice you made. So that was like the one thing that saved me, but it still took me a while to kind of dig out of that, I guess it's depression, when you lose somebody, you lose that piece of you, especially a parent. And then you got to kind of just shift it over to, all right, if my motivation was all in this one person, like, what does that say about me? And then I had to switch it over to, what is my motivation? I should be doing this for myself, first of all, to then help others, where it was flip-flop. All right. So shout out to our old mans for making us the men we are today.
Yes. Thank you, Pop.
You get to continue that with your family, which is great. You're a great dad.
Thank you.
Every time I'm around you and your kids or see a post about your daughter, I don't think have I met your daughter?
You haven't met Kiana. No, not yet. You only met Mickey.
Are you sure? I have a memory of meeting your daughter somewhere. She came out to Charlotte.
Oh, she came out to the Charlotte.
Yes, that's where I met her.
That's correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep. So I've met your kids. Love your wife.
Thank you. She loves you.
I know she does.
She loves you.
She's the best.
I have not run into a chick who does not love you.
No,
honestly.
She is awesome. I love your family, and
Thank you.
Yeah, it's something I look at and just like, man, that's like Mike's got it all right now. Like you got a great family, you got a good career. It seems like you're fulfilled. Like every time you teach it, I see this joy pour out of you, which is great. Let me ask you this, because I think as entrepreneurs and as we get successful, we all might have these thoughts. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's just me projecting on you, but there's a lot of people that'll look to our lives. Like I look at your life and I'm like, damn, like Mike seems to have it all, right? And some people look at me like, oh, Tony's got it all, or whoever they're looking at. And internally, we don't think we have it all, and there's something missing, or there's regrets we have in life, or there's something that we see somebody else doing, and comparison's the thief of joy, but it's just fucking human nature sometimes. Like, do you ever have those thoughts of like, not appreciating what you do have and thinking of what you don't?
Fuck no.
No.
I get up every single day. I thank God for everything that I have. And I know it's a short ride. And I've created the life that I want, right? So I've got no reason to look anywhere else. I've become very good. I'm not as good as you with emotional intelligence. I can get that little wire can zap in the back of my head where I might lose it, just slightly. I'm good to a point. You can be good all the way through. For me, I know that there are things that I can control and things that I can't control, and I do not look to anybody I've never looked at somebody and said, I want that, or I gotta have that. I want to be around that so that I can either grow on my own or learn something. I don't really look to anybody other than, if I think of my heroes are my kids.
Right.
My heroes are my kids.
Right.
Now, whether or not they see me as their hero is
that's another story.
That's another story.
They will one day.
They will one day.
Yeah.
But I don't look to. I don't give that an ounce of my, an ounce of my bandwidth. At all.
Well, that makes me even more jealous of what you got going on. So thanks for that. But yeah, it's one of those things where we can't control what happens to us most of the time, like our dad's dying or whatever, the market shifting, if it's more ancillary, or anything life throws at us. You're never going to control life, but you can control how you react to it, and that's the most important piece, right? And that's how I look at life, and that's how I stay so even keeled. And it's I've had definitely some ex-girlfriends in the past that said, you're so calloused, or you know, you don't have a ton of emotion. It's like, no, I do have emotion. I control how that emotion comes out. And I think about my emotions a lot. I internalize a lot of things, and I think of every avenue, how this is going to happen if I react this way, that way, or the other way. Mm-hmm. And it might be my communication or my demeanor that comes out calm, but it's because I take all this in, I have emotion internally, and I react in a certain way, you know, because if you are hair triggered reacting all the time to emotion or anything that goes on in your life, like usually that hair trigger reaction isn't the best reaction. Mm-hmm. It's like you do got to internalize it, think about it, and think about the outcome that's going to happen with your reaction or how you know, perceive something that happens to you.
So we're judged either way. And I think your real gift is that since we are judged on our appearance, strictly on our appearance, we could not open up our mouth and we're going to get judged. That your real gift is that you, I think, give a lot more people hope than what you may think you do, because when you look at you tatted up, or you look at Eric tatted up, right? Some people will go to the negative and go, that guy looks like a fuck up. Like, who is he to say this? Who is he to say that? Where we all know you're a handsome devil. I mean, everybody knows that.
Appreciate that.
That when people get into your sphere, they realize that you're just so much more than what, you know, you look like to some people. And that's just people, you know, kind of casting judgment on, you know, on other people. So I just think since we can't control any of that stuff, right? We can't control the way people see us, is that we just put out the best version of ourselves. And it's the reason why you resonate and you're gifted. And it's the reason why I resonate and I'm gifted, and Eric's resonates and he's gifted. And like I said, not everybody gets that gift. So,
yeah,
you know, kudos to you and, you know, and me and guys like Eric and guys that are, you know, kind of paving their own way. And just, you know, we just stay focused on the things that we can control, knowing that a lot of things out of our control.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Out of our control.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a good note to go out on. You called me handsome. You said I was gifted. I mean, I want to end it now before this goes sideways. So I do appreciate you, Cash Money Mike.
I appreciate you.
I love you. And I always say, you know, I got a couple friends out here. I've been out here for almost 3 years. You're definitely one of my best friends that I have met out here and just in life in general. I've lived 40 years with a lot of experience, a lot of people in my life, but you're definitely a special one of those people. And I appreciate you coming through and driving down here in the rain and meeting up to do the podcast. And yeah, I just, you know, wish nothing but the best for you and your family, and
thank you.
Truly appreciate you.
Thank you.
Why don't we end with telling the audience how they can find you on social media and what you have offering and how they can get involved with Cash Money Mike.
Sure. So before I say that, I want to thank you, and I love you. And I feel the exact same way. So thank you very much. Yeah, you can find me at Cash Money Mike with a K on all the social media platforms. You could always shoot me a DM. But yeah, that's the best way to find me, at Cash Money Mike with a K.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, everybody. We'll see you at the top. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching my video. If you'd like to watch more videos, my playlist is right here. And if you'd like to subscribe, click down here. I'll see you guys at the top.